Welcome to the Big O Money Show. Bill Altman here, co-host Tony Shore, with you from the Premier Advisory Group right here in Omaha, the Big O. We serve far and wide, multiple states that we're licensed in and allowed to do business in. The great state of Iowa being one of them, right next door to us, our wonderful neighbors over there. And all throughout Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, South Dakota, the list goes on and on, Arizona, Florida, Texas. So it's a lot of fun. What we do here, it's a good time. And in the past, Tony, you've heard me say things like the eternal optimist, right? And I feel,
right,
because I do, I have a lot of optimism for our country. And I know we go through hurdles, but sometimes just the growing pains is what we're dealing with.
Yeah,
and kind of like a no pain, no gain. I'm not saying things are good with wars by any stretch. No one likes that. No one likes polarized politics, I don't think. Well, except for the politicians, they like it.
They seem like it, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think the voters really do. I think there's a lot more unity and common belief than people may realize out there. I think most humans are good humans, believe it or not. Maybe like the 80-20 rule. I don't know. 80% are good and 20% are not so good. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yep.
But so we think about optimism and we think about like where we're going, and we hear all this negativity constantly in the news. I mean, that's all you turn on is the news. Well, here in Omaha, though, honestly, you turn on and it's kind of like puppies and kitties and stuff. Not a whole lot of action. You go down to Arizona, maybe Phoenix, and you turn on the local news, or maybe even Minneapolis. I don't know, Chicago, New York, the bigger cities, Atlanta, Houston. And you see, it's just nonstop. That's all you see is negativity.
Yes.
Crime and I'm not saying there's not crime. And they have to report on that. But very few times where we hear, and you know what? We're so excited about the future, so excited for what it holds.
Yeah.
A neighbor of mine, we were doing remodeling. It goes back a good 10 years or so when it was on our current house, and I apologized to him because it's nonstop contractors and the people park all crazy, and so you really make sure that our neighbors are okay with everything, right? Trying to be a neighbor. Hey, so I apologized to John. I said, hey John, I'm sorry for all these guys, and hopefully we'll wrap up construction pretty soon. He said, no, don't apologize, Bill, this is progress. And he goes, I love progress. He goes, at first people don't really understand progress, or maybe they don't like progress. But what we do know is progress happens. So whether we like it or not, and we want to hole up and be off the range or off a non-developed area. I'll give you an example. I'm trying off the grid. That was my
off the grid.
Yeah. In Hawaii, in Maui, and I've got the chance to go to Maui a few times over my life, and we like to go. Maui is a figure eight. So if you look at a figure eight, you have a top, smaller circle, and then a bigger circle.
Yep.
And so the island is like that. So up on that smaller circle of the eight, it gets very local. The roads get very narrow. It's absolutely gorgeous. Well, I'll take my kids like one at a time, typically up around that road. It's kind of dangerous, but not really. It's not really dangerous, but it's really important just to respect the locals. Because again, the roads do narrow and all that, but you do go into areas that are off the grid, like completely off the grid. And that's cool. If somebody wants to do that, I have no problem with that. I fully support it. I think it's neat. For the majority of people, that's not the case though.
Right.
And so if you're going to be on the grid, expect momentum, expect things to continue to grow and happen.
And I like your positivity. You're calling it progress and momentum. And kind of what we're really talking about is change. And that's what people fear, is the change part of progress, right?
And it's always happened. I mean, there was not a short time ago that we were without cars.
Right.
That really wasn't too long ago. Short time ago, there were outhouses. My dad, that was an outhouse in Iowa for a lot of his growing up ages.
My grandfather's farm, there was an outhouse.
So, and this is just, so progress can be good. Again, sometimes we don't like progress, but it seems like we can get through it pretty well. So we'll talk about that in a minute. That's going to go into a space discussion, actually.
Wow.
So I think it's going to be a pretty exciting show.
The final frontier.
Yeah, right? But it won't be the final show, God willing. And
Yeah.
something does happen to me. Good old Andrew and Kaiser will take her over.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and but I feel so good that Kaiser hurts.
How do you feel today, Bill? I'm so good. Kaiser hurts.
The worst joke teller ever in the history of joke teller, but I'll take it. First though, Tony,
crickets.
First, what I want to talk about is DECA, and DECA is this organization in high school where these kids compete on like a marketing level, and they give role play and presentations. And they also have written exams, not only written exams, but written projects, written business plans that get reviewed prior to. So I had the opportunity for the last couple of years to be in Lincoln, Nebraska, judging the state DECA competition. That's right. There are 800 students in Lincoln last Thursday and Friday. So now we're go back a week. Okay. And it was really exciting. Not all the kids were great. There were some that were exceptional. I mean, just so on point. It was amazing. But, get this here. You have freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. For the most part, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Right? Mm-hmm. And they come up. So again, there's 800 from all around the state, from all the way out to Sydney, Scotts Bluff, all the way to Papillion, La Vista High here in Omaha.
Sure.
So all over the place. And they come in. And they don't have to do this, by the way. This is not a requirement. It's not any type of required course load for what they're doing. At least at Millard North, it's not. And I haven't heard of any requirement from any school being like that. It's almost like taking on a whole nother class, or maybe maybe a couple classes, because they do meet on a regular basis. So Grace, my daughter, the youngest, the junior at Millard North, she's heavily involved in DECA. And
that's great.
It was really cool. So when we talk about progress and talk about momentum, you have these 800 kids that are anywhere from maybe 14 or 15 years old to 18 years old. They're doing something that they don't have to do, that they have to prepare for, like intensely prepare for. It's no joke. They have to come and present in front of, these business owners like myself, or maybe they're professors or teachers, or they can be of some type of professional background, typically is what it is. A lot of business owners, though. And they sit in front of us. And mine for the last 2 years has been like role play, business services management, accounting, entrepreneurship. I've had those. I had automotive last year, automotive sales, where they kind of get a pitch and they present that to me.
That's a real honor for you that they ask you to do that too. That's awesome.
No, I think it is cool, and I'll probably do it one more year. I'll do it next year too. But with this momentum that we have in our youth, it's so exciting, because again, they don't have to be there, and they're there. And even though some of them aren't doing great on the presentation, it's like kind of a failing grade, I can't really give them a failing grade because they showed up. I mean, isn't that half the battle? I mean, right. They're in their suit and tie. It's 14 or 15-year-old kid. How good can you expect it to be? They get the topic 10 minutes before they present to me. So they're all sitting out in the hallway. They're all sitting out in the lobby or whatever it is at the Lincoln Convention Center. The Cornhusker Marriott is what it is.
Yeah.
And they're all sitting out there. And then they usher them in. So that I'm sitting in with the person. They're giving me their presentation. It goes about 10 minutes, and then they go out. As soon as they leave, they usher in a new kid in, and the new kid is given their topic. They get 10 minutes to prepare the presentation. They have not seen the topic before.
That's crazy.
And then after 10 minutes, and it's very structured, after those exact 10 minutes, their handler brings them to me, my desk, and they go. I say, okay, you got the floor, go.
Oh my!
And they go and they present.
Imagine the pressure. That is crazy.
And so, how exciting is it, though?
Do some of them actually come up with some great stuff? Or?
Oh my gosh! One of them, I had to dock 2 points because I felt like if I did give her 100%, I was showing favoritism. or something like that. And I didn't
Yeah.
score my daughter or any of her friends, by the way.
Right.
But it's one of those, like, I have to find something wrong, but it was so freaking good. That person did end up getting first place. So I don't
Good.
feel bad about docking her a couple of points, but it was
Sure.
one of those deals where it's like, oh, I don't know if I can give her 100,
Right.
Heck,
Right.
I've never gotten 100.
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
knows that. But anyway, so that was really fun. So why I'm talking about that is the excitement that I have for the future of our country, even though we're going through a lot of crap, right? We have, people dislike or like our presidents, they dislike or like our Congress or senators, or they like or they don't the green stuff and the green energy or whatever the situation is.
Sure.
But people, it's been like this forever and ever and ever, and there's constantly been progress. I mean, not too long ago, we were go to the Vatican, and they're taking those huge stone blocks that they've built this monstrosity with, and they're with pulleys and ropes,
Yeah.
and like mules,
Yeah.
and like 6 foot tall glass window panes.
Yeah.
That didn't get up there with a crane. You didn't go to
No.
your lift company and buy a
No.
forklift.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Vatican. Look at the pyramids. I mean,
Yeah. And look at
the plumbing system in Rome. I mean, that was so long ago, and they had plumbing. That was
and so
unbelievable.
now we go forward to the spot, and you have these 800 kids that are doing fantastic. They're going to be the leaders of our country someday.
Right.
Either influential business people or politicians or whatever they may be. They're going to be something, though. I guarantee you that. Those kids aren't showing up. Those kids are going to be something there.
Right.
They're showing up on their own dime, on their own will to do this. So then they qualify for nationals. So Grace qualified for nationals.
Oh, great.
Grace is it's not really nationals, it's global. 25,000 kids, some of them from international locations, come to Atlanta to present.
Wow.
And do that same thing all over again.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's great.
Right. And these kids are all super excited, and they're all dressed up in their business attire, and they present, and they're all pumped and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, I love it. So why is Bill optimistic? That's one of the reasons I'm optimistic.
You saw some hope with the youth. I love that. That is important.
Yes,
There's intelligence and go-getters out there. It's not all, the kids are just with the phones and the video games and they don't want to work. But there's kids out there who are willing to take the time to try to make a difference.
Did you see some social media lawsuit recently? I'm glad you brought that up. It's leading me down a rabbit hole here, so you might have stopped me. But social media, Facebook, and I think the Twitter and maybe the TikToks, they had a lawsuit about $6 million that's going to go to this little girl who's been watching
YouTube
videos.
I think it started
Facebook
with
involved too, though.
Yeah.
Facebook had the biggest chunk of that lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So what do we get awarded for being bad parents? These people were like, well, she's been streaming and watching these videos since 6 years old. What? Scott Voorhees, local KFAB here in the morning.
Oh, Scott
was talking about it last Thursday.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, in the morning show, he was talking about, so that's all I had to do is be a bad parent and have a big payday?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like she's been doing it since 6. Take away the devices. Turn off your internet. It's like it's parenting. It's called parenting. Well, if she wants to do it, we can't stop her. It's like,
I mean, I like doing a little scrolling too. Do I get a check? And so now,
yeah, really.
So now these companies like Facebook are coming back and saying, you know what? Fine, sounds good. So the jury awarded $3 million. The judge came in and said, well, let's do some punitive damages of another $3 million. No big deal. Now, do you think Facebook cares about $6 million?
No.
No, it was their interest during the last 10 minutes you've been listening to us.
Right. They earned that in interest in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, and probably a lot more than that, really, right?
Right.
Second or something, but it's setting the precedent. So they're saying, hey, we're going to appeal. because all of a sudden we go ahead and get this and we don't appeal and don't do everything, then everybody's going to come out. Tony and I are going to pop up and we're going to say,
Oh,
yep, we have PTSD from Facebook. I was watching
yeah.
Facebook Reels.
Yeah,
And,
Facebook puts algorithms in there that gets me addicted, and then I look at my phone so much, I have a bad neck and bad back, and I need compensation.
well, I know, right? And your mental health too has been a little off.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
a couple million for you, a couple million for you, and a couple million for you.
Yeah.
So what happens then is a class action. Everybody's gotten the letters in the mail, and they're like, would you like to join our class action lawsuit? We're going to sue this company for $71 trillion, and you're going to get a piece of it. No, you're not. You're going to get like 9 cents.
Yeah.
Who gets the piece of it? The lawyers.
The lawyers. That's why class action suits are lawyer money making suits.
Yes, and then you divide the rest by everybody else that joins.
Yeah, exactly. They get their fee of the overall. They get a bigger percentage than you're going to get. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Facebook and the others are saying, no. We're not going to let that happen because this is completely ridiculous. And so anyway, that's happening. So that's a piece right there. Moving on.
Argue the parenting. I mean, if they say our daughter's been doing this since she was 6, it's just like, wouldn't their lawyer just get up or a child behaviorist and say, yeah, it's the parent's responsibility to take away the device at that point.
Yeah, and maybe we should look at some action against them.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I would never think about suing a company because my kid was watching too much TikTok.
Yeah.
I would point the finger directly at myself first.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. I have full control. My kids are adults. Because I still write the checks, I still have control. They don't actually become real adults in the Altman world until I stop writing checks.
Yeah. When they're paying every last expense, if they're paying off their college debts, if they're paying for their own auto insurance and their own phone. Yeah. I mean, we're still paying phone and insurance for our kids, and they're all graduated college. So that's going to stop real soon.
I was going to say, I don't want to have a come to Jesus with you.
Yeah. But again, that's my problem. That's not my kid's problem. That's not the company's problem, right?
Yeah. When you expense it.
What? No, I don't.
Oh,
they don't let me expense.
I just didn't want to tell Chirpin. Okay, good.
Yeah. Expense it. No, I don't even get to expense my own phone. So that's
you got to work with a better CPA. Julie Mueller on tax.
There you go. Okay, so we haven't gotten to space yet.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about Braden. Braden Altman, aerospace engineering, Auburn University. He's going to be a senior next year.
Aerospace engineering.
So we were talking like we should probably really support these kids' future. Right. And so I have to talk about space, and I got to get people excited about it. So what's space? Well, that's stupid. We know what space is, right? It's up there. Right. But SpaceX. Right. Yeah. So we have SpaceX is filing documents to an IPO, potentially June, as early as June. They could go public, but maybe not until September. I think there's a poll taken, about 85% believe it will be September that they'll go public on it. But we'll see what happens. At least $1.5 trillion. I've seen all the way up to $2 trillion. It'll be the largest IPO ever in history. So that's a big deal. And they'll raise about $75 billion. Oof. Yep, that's raise.
Real money. That's real money even to you, Bill.
That's some real money. No joke. Yep. 20%, and this is typical too with IPOs. 20% will be from the public, from public sourcing like us.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so this is exciting because Elon really kind of, we've talked about this before. He pushes all the chips in. He's always going in. He doesn't do like a small deal here or there.
No.
So that's exciting. We're seeing that right now happening. 42% of SpaceX is owned by Elon. If this happens, he most likely will become the world's first trillionaire.
Yeah.
Okay. And, people want to take that away and say it's greed. It's greed. The dude has, I haven't been on this yet, but a loop system through his company called the Boring Company, which, because he likes to dig holes with excavators, started this company of digging holes, and it turns into an underground freeway system, really. There's some action in LA, in Vegas. I haven't been on it, but there's a whole loop. Did you realize there's a whole loop of Teslas underneath the city?
What?
Yeah.
No.
I'm telling you, do the Google machine.
That's crazy.
I was talking to my buddy yesterday, and he's like, yeah, there's a whole system. I've been on him a whole bunch of times. You pay a daily pass fee. It's very nominal. I don't even know if I believe him. He said $5, but whatever. So don't take that. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
It's hearsay. But he says, yeah, you get on and they just pop you too. No traffic, no waiting, no cabs are going to hate it. They're extending it to the airport the whole night. It's probably going to go out to Henderson. I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff. I know that's not space. That's below, right? That's the other side.
Yeah.
But you think about what Elon's doing. Holy smokes. I mean, that's huge. That's a big deal. Look at the traffic in LA. Danielle's in California this past week going to a funeral. God bless her heart. Melanie Russell.
Oh.
Cancer, late 50s, breast cancer. Yep.
Yikes.
But that's I guess that's life. And that's why you do truly only live once.
Yeah.
YOLO.
And that's why space innovation has led to so much other innovation.
That's right.
And who knows what we'll be able to accomplish through this, even though it's a private company this time instead of the government like NASA. I know SpaceX works closely with NASA.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And so they work hand in hand. And so I think what's going to happen, the good news here, the big news, this is big news because all that influx of funding, more development increases the safety and the productivity and the progress of space exploration and what we can do in space. And I know part of his intent is to put, there's so much controversy about all these data farms and server farms that they need for AI. And to cool them, they need water and other resources. And so a lot of places here in the Midwest where there's wide open spaces are fighting against it.
Right.
But no, we need our farmland. You shouldn't build data centers there. So Elon's company, I don't know if it's him himself that comes up with these ideas, says, we'll put them in space. We can put data farms in space. We have direct, instant, fast access to space. The data transfer isn't an issue anymore. We've solved that. So let's just put server farms in space and put servers in space to keep them cool. So, or on the, and they're talking about the moon. I mean, they're talking about a lot of different things, and that innovation leads to other innovations. Really smart people trying to come up with solutions solves other problems along the way, and that's what's happened with our space program in the past, right?
Yeah, and so why do investors really care about that? Well, Google owns 6.5% of SpaceX.
Yes.
A big deal. XAI merged with SpaceX. Equistar owns 3% in SpaceX. Something goes up with SpaceX. Again, remember the tide in the water?
Yep.
The water rises and all the boats rise, And then there's TerraFab. You heard of this? His new plant, his new facility. They're estimating right around $30 billion. Elon says 20 to 25. Morgan Stanley says 30 to $35 billion. Austin, Texas. It's a joint venture by SpaceX and Tesla, and it's to create their own chips. They'll do a couple different types of chips, one for their cars and robots for the full self-driving and the robotic side, and then one for data centers that can be a very rugged and robust chip that can go up into space. So they're gonna do those two chips. That's pretty freaking exciting, right?
Yeah.
Again, cost is huge, but again, that's Elon, man. Cost has always been huge, and look what happens. I mean, some pretty cool stuff happens. And then what this all do? Well, this kind of gives some momentum for the whole moon base alpha.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So the whole new moon base, $20 billion, initial infrastructure being done by 2030, fully complete by 2036. Wow. That they're going to have people that live year around on the moon in this infrastructure that they've built. That's only 10 years. So why is Bill optimistic? There it is, baby. I'm not saying I wouldn't rather go to Montana and fly fish with zero internet service, because I would, baby.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I'm just telling you, this is coming and we can't avoid it.
Right.
And so grasp it, invest for it, understand what that means. Give us a call, 402-557-6730, 402-557-6730, or bigomoney.com for your complimentary consultation. We'd love to see you.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of the Big O Money Show with our host, Space Captain Bill Altman.